In a world filled with ones and zeros, gluten-free bread, small talk, and the color beige, there live among us a few brave souls who break the mold, irritating their neighbors, making a mess, playing pretend, and letting their imaginations fly free. They are the Creatives! They're here to answer a question so consequential that it transcends both space and time. And that question is, so when are you going to get a real job?
P.S. This interview was filmed over Zoom and may contain the occasional sound or video glitch. All complaints can be sent to the elders of the internet. P.P.S. In the event of adult content and bad language being used, cover your ears and sing la 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 la. And now, on with the interview. Hailing from a small town in the beautiful KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, Byron started his life in the arts, singing in the internationally acclaimed KwaZulu-Natal Youth Choir. Having a flair for the performing arts, Byron moved to Cape Town to study musical theatre. He graduated with a licentiate in drama, musical theatre and teaching, and a postgraduate in stage directing, as well as being awarded Most Outstanding Student. His theatre credits include The Regulars, which he starred in and co-wrote, Dying Light, which he directed, translated, and toured to the National Arts Festival, the national touring production of Rent, which he directed, The Wizard of Oz at Artscape, which he assistant directed, and most recently, a beautiful production of Ordinary Days, performed at the Baxter Theatre Complex. Apart from being a fantastic director, Byron's true passion is that of teacher and educator, opening his very own school, the Byron Bure Academy of Theatre Arts. This boutique academy offers individualized education in the performing arts for all ages and skill levels, and offers a variety of classes aimed at developing the necessary skills of any performer to help them refine and grow their unique talents.
Hello, Byron. Thank you for
Hello.
We are going to ask you some questions to get to know you as a little icebreaker. Are you ready?
Okay, yes.
Okay, question number 1. What would your superhero name be?
Musical bee.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Question number 2. What food would you not ever eat, regardless of what people paid you?
Brussels sprouts.
Even if I gave you $1 million, would you not eat a Brussels sprout?
Oh no, then I would.
Liar.
What would I eat? Probably like raw meat. Like if it was like, I don't know, like raw udder or something.
Ugh. Can you imagine how disgusting that would be?
I probably would.
You'd do anything for money.
Yeah, bruh. I'm an artist.
Question number 3. If you could go back in time and give yourself, your younger self, some fashion advice, what would you say?
Don't wear corduroy pants and slops.
What TV show would you love to be cast in?
Schitt's Creek.
Oh.
Okay.
Thanks, Becca.
Question 5. Describe the perfect weather forecast.
Sunny but not hot. Like an autumn day.
If a musical was made about your life, what style of music would it use?
It would use classical music.
Like an opera.
Yes, but a little more realistic.
Classical music. I can't get over you. Okay.
Well, it wouldn't be like rap. It wouldn't be rap.
No, it doesn't have to be rap. There's other stuff.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, it would be definitely more towards the classical style than like anything too modern.
I understand. Although you are very dramatic, so like a full-blown opera.
Oh, exactly. Orchestra. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to me now. Question 7. If all animals were human-friendly, what would your dream pet be?
Oh, probably like a lion.
Okay, you could be Joe Exotic.
I could be in that. I could be in that series too. Actually, could like spice things up.
It's so true. What song is playing in your brain when you're really, really sad?
It's probably like an Adele song, like Someone Like You or something like that.
What is the funniest movie of all time?
It's must be Bridesmaids.
Yes, I agree.
It's so fucking funny.
Last question. If you had to do a PhD in any subject, which one would you choose?
Probably teaching. It wouldn't have always been. I think like initially I would have wanted to do something in like architecture or like furniture design, or then it definitely moved to like musicals and drama and obviously, but now I think it's probably teaching, understanding humans, or maybe psychology.
Understanding humans.
There we go.
Thank you for those questions, Kimbo. All right, so moving straight on, can you tell us how are you really?
I am anxious, probably in life a little bit. Probably just like not certain of what's happening and how we're going to move forward. But I'm also kind of like on my personal life, I'm excited and So like in terms of like work, which takes priority at the moment, it's probably anxiety and uncertainty and yeah.
I mean, with the weekend coming up, can you switch off from your work and kind of leave that anxiety at the door, or does it stay with you the whole week?
It's with me the whole time. I want to pretend that it doesn't, but it definitely does. It gets on my mind the whole time.
Okay, so tell us a bit about your work.
Well, I teach. I own an academy, and what my job is basically to just make sure that everything's running smoothly, and I teach singing. But of course, with COVID and stuff, it's kind of difficult to know what the correct protocol is in terms of dealing with students and parents and humans. And well, it's just kind of one of those things where you'll be wrong if you do the one thing and you'll be wrong if you do the other. So it's more about just trying to make sure that every single person who I deal with feels safe and is able to continue learning in the best possible way they can. So giving everyone an opportunity to be able to continue doing what they can. Obviously, it's unrealistic to keep everybody 100% happy, and it's a bit unrealistic to make sure that everyone grows equally, but I have to give the platform the best opportunity, or give the best platform to give them the opportunity to grow.
Of course.
And that makes me anxious because I'm like, damn it, everyone deserves the best, but I can't always provide it.
Yeah. When COVID hit, how did Babata cope initially, and where are you at now in terms of your day-to-day?
So initially, when COVID was kind of happening, we were ending term one. So what I wanted to do, to my best ability, was keep the school as safe as possible and continue up until we had to close, which is what happened. We, on the week that they announced that it was going to close on the Friday, we closed in that week. And then the initial plan was to not jump into anything that we were going to regret, and also not jump into anything that wasn't going to be like true to the way that we believe our education needs to be delivered. So we decided to close completely. And in those 3 weeks, those initial lockdown 3 weeks, we decided to experiment and figure out the best possible ways going forward, not just jumping into it. So a lot of places like went immediately online, and they used the online classes to experiment to figure out if it was going to work or not. We decided not. So we spent those 3 weeks just with ourselves, the teachers, figuring out what the best platform would be. And then we opened up online teaching, which was really good because we knew what we were offering. We could tell everyone up front, this is what we can do and this is how it's going to work and be the best possible way. And we've stayed online up until right now. We're still currently online and it's working. Of course, classes have become smaller and we don't have as many people taking classes, but that I know really good in my heart is that it's not because of the education that we're providing, but purely because people can't afford it, or they're not in an environment where they can sing out loud in their house, or they don't have space to do a dance class.
Have you found that now that you've moved onto the online platform, that this is possibly something that can continue for you as an extra sort of, I don't know, side hustle once things do go back to normal and you are functioning as a proper school again?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because in December, before COVID had happened, I had had like 3 requests from people overseas who were like, "Oh, I want to do singing lessons," and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't teach online. I do everything in person." And initially, I still do believe that. I think that starting a lesson with somebody who had singing lessons with somebody who had never met online, I still kind of feel a little bit that I wouldn't be giving them everything they deserve, because I wouldn't be able to see the full body and the tension that they hold. I wouldn't be able to really connect with them on a personal level to understand why they're doing it, or how how they've experienced singing in the past and how we can get rid of bad habits and move forward. I feel like the human connection is still super important for me. That being said, I'm a lot more open to the idea of, being online and teaching people who can't necessarily afford it overseas but can do an online class with me.
Well, that's exciting from a business point of view, because like I say, it's been a reset for everybody, but also for people to realize that their skills can be transferred to an online platform, and you can kind of make an extra bit of cash that way and reach a further audience, I guess you could say.
I was actually thinking about this the other day because it's not only about the online thing. We have been taught to become artists who then wait for work. Like our initial thing is, oh, cool, I've graduated. I'm going to wait for my agent to send me the brief. I'm going to wait for, an audition to come up. And that's what artists have been doing. Like they've been waiting for work, waiting for work. And COVID has taught us that you create work, you make it. So whether it is an online thing, or whether it's actually now that I've been in lockdown and I've decided to start writing my own plays, or finding places where I can experiment with different work, it's taught us that we can't wait.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's actually scarier thinking now that you put so much into waiting and waiting for other people to create that work for you and provide an opportunity for you. That's scary. Like,
Where is
actually,
yourself?
yeah. And
Exactly.
why do you do that in the first place? Like, go out and do your own damn thing,
Exactly. And you know what the thing is, when you do it for yourself, you end up meeting a lot more people than those 2 people who are in that same audition room every time, or the same casting, directors. Like they've seen you 500 times, and they're just seeing you being in a slightly different role. But if you go out there and you're like, hey, let's meet up and let's write something together, or let me start my own online dance classes. People also feel like, oh no, I'm a performer, but now I'm having to teach online all of a sudden to make some extra money. That is your skill. You studied dance, so use it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Actually, that leads into the next question I want to ask you. You studied at the waterfront. At what point did you decide you did not want to be a performer, you want to go into teaching?
Well, I always was convinced that I was going to be a performer. Like, I would say even till like almost the last few days of being there. I mean, I'd started teaching there for the part-time school, doing the teachers' exams and stuff, and I'd worked for the waterfront for the full-time school in my 4th year as well, and that just kind of led on to me being offered a job teaching full-time. Initially, like I thought I was going to go out into the performing world, and then we had one of these like last classes with Paul doing our what have we become in these last 4 years, and we're kind of going around in a circle, and Paul was like, and Byron, you become this amazing teacher, and I was like, what? I, th- I thought I was the perfect actor, Paul, you know, and he was like, yeah, but you know, you're definitely more of a teacher. And I was like, okay. And, you know, at that point, obviously, our lecturers there were our gods. Like, you know, we loved them and worshipped them, and whatever they said, we did. I mean, he didn't force me to go into teaching, of course. I mean, they'd offered me a job, and I was very happy to get a salary and do it. I didn't hate teaching. I just thought that I might be a performer. And then as I kind of like went into the teaching thing, it's not like I didn't want to perform. It's just that the love for teaching was greater. I still went for castings and I still, you know, went for auditions. But deep down, I think being backstage and helping people to become better performers was really what I wanted to do.
Did you feel like your whole world like shatter around you when you heard the words you're a good teacher?
A little, yeah, a little. I mean, maybe I was a bit delusional or thinking that I was just going to go out and get all these acting roles. I guess I'll never know now because I didn't really put my heart into it. And I think at that point, I knew that the only way I was going to be financially viable was to commit to one and do it. And at that point, I was just offered a teaching job, and that was paying. So that's where I went to.
You and I had quite a similar arc at college. And I almost find that I felt very insecure as an actor up until I started teaching. And then when I was teaching and trying to, you know, get other people to understand the work and even directing, the more I was directing, I became less insecure as an actor. And
Because in that moment we played.
Yeah. Yes.
And there was like no judgment. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is the play that I should have been doing for the past 4 years. Here it is. And yeah, I mean, I feel like if I went into acting roles right now, I would have no fear. But in my 4th year, even doing like our 4th year showcase, I was like backstage huffing and puffing and like taking anxiety medicine and like lying on the floor trying to release my body because I was so scared of, I don't know what, but I was scared.
Isn't it interesting though that something that you love so much and that has been part of your life for so long can be so panic inducing and bring so much anxiety before you're about to perform? Like, why do we actually do that to ourselves?
Well, we do it because realistically we judges. Like no one wants to go, I don't judge. But the truth is we all go watch performances and we're all going, oh, why could I have done better? Or I didn't really enjoy this, or I didn't really enjoy that. And it's not because we don't want the best for the people, but because we love it so much that we like, how could we improve it? And so in a way, we know that when we watch something, we sit there with a critical eye. And we know that our fellow actors are doing the same for us. And the fear comes into whether we're going to, you know, fulfill their thoughts and their needs. I'm glad we do kind of have that fear though, because otherwise we'd be putting on mediocre stuff.
Yeah, it kind of like pushes you a little bit more to kind of work hard and make sure you're doing the right thing and not just coasting.
Well, we want to entertain, right? And we want to entertain well.
So I want to know, what is the absolute best thing about your job?
Oh, there's so many. I really love my job. Like I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. But the thing that I love most about my job is progression. And it's not about a final result and it's not about anything big. It's about those small little moments where that you can see something clicks and when there's no fear in the student to like just expose themselves and to allow themselves to play and do their best. So that's probably my most favorite thing. Like I get super excited when somebody knows what they're doing correctly and it's working.
So okay, so you after college you went and you taught full time at the waterfront. At what point did you decide, okay, you're going to try this thing on your own? You're going to open your own school. You're going to do everything on your own?
Initially, I wasn't thinking about leaving and opening up my own school. What I wanted to do was to open up a place where I felt people could be a lot more free in their process. and realized that we can't put a whole lot of actors into one room and expect that everyone's going to be on the same process. It's impossible. So I mean, all institutions have different paths in which they lead their students, with the end goal that they're all going to be amazing performers. I just felt that the way that I was teaching was going to be a more authentic way that would cater for each individual student, not aiming for an exam or aiming for an assessment or forcing them to be in the class every single week, when we know realistically we are people who go through ups and downs, and we know realistically that one week I may be at a casting and I may not be able to make a class, and then they wouldn't feel like they've missed out. So I just felt that there was a time and a place for me to go and to create a space where people who had already trained, or people who were wanting, like for anyone who could be on a certain path in their journey, where I could pick up and help them in the best possible way to move forward. So initially, when I left Waterfront and I'd opened up Babata, it was initially just going to be individual one-on-one drama tutorials and individual one-on-one singing tutorials, and that was it. And obviously I had a few people who came to me, and I started, I think, like 13 or 14 students who were having a tutorial every single week. And it just kind of built up where people are like, oh my gosh, this is a space where I can come in and feel really relaxed. And I feel like within 1 hour, I can grow so much. Then we decided, group drama classes might make sense. And hey, group singing classes might make sense. And then, people were like, oh man, I wish I could just dance. And I was like, cool, let me build a dance studio. And that's how it's happened. Nothing for Babata was ever like in 5 years' time, I want to have 3 dance classes happening at the same time, plus 2 drama classes and 2 tutorials. That wasn't the aim. The aim was just to go and offer what people needed. So everything that happened was organic and natural in its progression.
And I actually love the fact that your space is open for people who don't necessarily have a background in the arts at all. I mean, you've got people from all walks of life coming to your dance classes, coming for singing lessons, improving their confidence. There's just like so many different kinds of people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not aimed at, by the end of the year, you better be a performer and you better be out there representing the Babata name. That's not what it's about. It's about Tommy coming to class and being the best Tommy they can be whenever they want to be that Tommy,
Completely. And it's nice that you've aligned yourself with teachers who have had that same vision, because I used to do dance classes at your place, and they would individually be like, Kim, when you do this is what you're working on, and then I was working on that, but so and so was working on that, and there wasn't like this I can do this and you can do that. Like, it was just so inclusive, and when someone gets the thing that they were doing right, everybody's like, yeah, oh my god. And
Yes.
It's that great place for an artist to be. The arts are so judgmental, so like I'm so grateful for your school.
Thanks. Yeah, and that's still how it's run. Every single person in that class is trying to be the best version of themselves, and the teachers are going, where are you, and how can we just improve you just by this much on this one day? And that's all it takes, to improve this much every single day, and then before you know it, you've got your skills and you've got your product.
Totally. But do you feel like an extra sense of responsibility to be okay, or to feel okay during this lockdown, because you're responsible for students? I mean, you have to stay motivated yourself in order to motivate your students.
Yes. That being said, I don't think I've achieved that. I've definitely failed in the sense that I can't, and this is one thing, is also with our school, is that we've never tried to pretend that we're something that we're not. Every single person who comes in there knows what we do, how we do it. We don't try, fluff it up, and, we don't give unrealistic expectations. So through this process, we've been very honest and going, guys, we actually don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And right now, we can do this. And in 3 weeks' time, we can look at it again. And we can move on. So, yes, there has been this responsibility to try keep everything going. But I haven't lied about the fact that I've battled. And so everyone is like super supportive. I sent out this message to all the students on a group email, and within, I'm not even joking, 10 minutes, I almost had like 90% of those people personally message me going, "You have done an amazing thing and we love it. And it doesn't matter that we won't be there for 3 weeks and we'll be back when we can." And you know what I mean? Like they just know that I'm not trying to coax them into offering them something that I can't.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel guilty, but I wish I was stronger.
No, but I mean, that's an attractive quality to me, like a place that is honest about how they're doing, how they're feeling, and the fact that you are running your school that way kind of promotes that sense. I know that I can call you before my singing lesson and say, "I'm not really feeling good today emotionally. Can we postpone?" You're like, "Cool, take a day, cry, and then come back next week and we're gonna work." So
Exactly.
I really admire that.
Thanks.
So I want to know what keeps you going creatively.
Probably, there's quite a few things that keep me going creatively, but the first thing obviously are my students, because all my students who are with me want to be with me. No mommy is paying fees up front for the year and going, "You will attend those classes." That's not how it works. People who want to come to my classes want to come to my classes. And there's no guilt about it. They call me and they're like, "I'm signing up," and they come every single week. And every single week, they bringing me new things and they're practicing. And I don't have to go to people and be like, "Okay, listen, you really got to practice this week." It's not how it works. We end up a class, they go, "Is there something I can work on?" And I'll go, "Yes, do this." And next week they've done that, plus more, plus more. So they bring me songs and I'm creatively stimulated every single day because I've got to learn new songs. I'm learning about new musicals. Sometimes my students are teaching me things that I didn't even know. So that's definitely one source of creativity that comes to me. But also, I mean, just being in the environment and planning the way that the school runs is quite a creative journey because, we're trying to find creative ways of making things work. So my staff, they are certainly a source of creativity for me, just in the sense of like, how do we move forward and how do we make things work? And we all collaborate together. And then obviously watching stuff is another way of being creatively stimulated. Obviously now we can't because, it's all closed. But I mean, beforehand, last year, or for the past 3 years, I've been on the Carter judging panel. So I was watching, 40 pieces a year. And that's just the ones that I had to go watch. And, so, by the end of the year, we were watching a piece a week.
And during lockdown, has there been anything that you've watched that has made you like really appreciate what you've studied and your craft? I mean, there's been a couple of pieces that National Theatre has released and a few other online shows from the National Arts Festival, all that kind of stuff. That has anything made you stop and go, "Shit, I love what I do"?
I would be lying if I said yes, purely because I tend to avoid the pre-recorded shows.
Okay.
Not because I don't appreciate them. I end up watching them from like a technical point of view, and I like to watch the aesthetics and the overall lighting, and I focus on the plot, and I end up watching the actors. So it's not like one of those, let me sit back and just be like creatively stimulated and just watch and enjoy. Purely because I don't feel that energy. And the art form is not made for film. So when you film it, it takes it away a little bit. But I definitely can use it to become more aware of theatre. So I would be lying if I said yes, there were some live theatre pieces that I was like, "Oh man, let me get out there again." But I mean, there's definitely movies and series and stuff that you can watch and you can also be stimulated by. So yeah, probably more series and stuff, to be honest.
Tell us which ones have inspired you or have kept you going during the lockdown.
Well, obviously Schitt's Creek.
Of course.
Do you not find it funny?
I've literally tried 3 times. I can't get into it. Have you tried, Kimber?
I'm finding the plot a bit slow, but I love Moira.
I love them all. They've all got their little individual personalities, and I just love their little nuances, and I love their thought patterns, their motivations, their overall objectives. It's just for me, it's super clear, and I'm just loving it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I will try again for the fourth time and give you my feedback, but
I mean, if you love Bridesmaids, you should be loving this.
I mean, yeah, that is true. Okay, I'll try again today, and if it doesn't work, then I know it's a really shit show. Sorry.
Okay.
What I also like about it is that Eugene, the main guy, the father, and then Moira, the mom, Catherine O'Hara, it is Catherine O'Hara, yes.
Yeah.
They were in an improv troupe together. They were like in the Canadian version of Saturday Night Live. So the fact that they've got that history, that they've been like partners in comedy for their whole lives, plus it's his son they wrote the show together. Like I like the family element of it a lot.
And right at the end, they released the final episode, which is like what inspired them to write the show, and you get a bit of the background information, and you see the background filming and stuff like that, and you just see how much effort they've put in to making sure that the show is good. You know, you can just see that the effort that they've put in for the show is totally worth it.
Okay, I'll give it another shot.
Fine. Good.
Okay, so Bart, can you tell us a little bit about your directing ventures?
So it started, well, obviously at college we were given directing tasks all the time. And because I love to analyze scripts from when I was acting, when I was an actor before I was a teacher. But I loved analyzing scripts. It was never a mission for me to go and read a play and try analyze and see what was going on. So kind of from college days when we used to do, what were those things called? You know, when you would have to like direct things for the audience. What is that? What am I talking about? Device projects. There we go. Device projects. And obviously performance classes and stuff like that. I often took that role just because I like to experiment and make people do things in a different way to see how I would perceive it. So that was super fun. And then when I was doing my first year teaching, Paul mentored me for a full year, and he did like a post-grad sort of course of directing where we explored a whole lot of different plays and the approach to directing. We explored art and music and architecture and a whole lot of other elements that would be necessary for being a director. And so I then decided, well, you know, I've just got to do some directing. So I found my favorite plays, put them on, translated them, and that was the start. And then and then I did a few smaller productions in Cape Town, you know, when production companies came to me and said, look, I'm wanting to put on a show and would you be interested in directing it? And they'd send me the script and I'd be like, yes, you know, absolutely. So it's been more of an organic process. I haven't been trying to force myself to direct things up until last year when we did Ordinary Days. It's just been something that a musical that I've loved forever, and Kirst and Joe's, you know, were taking singing lessons with me, and they were just the perfect Claire and Deb, and I was like, okay, well, this is just an opportunity that's just arisen, so let's just do it, you know, and let's just open up a company and let's just direct and act for the love of it.
Are there any shows, musicals or plays that, like, if you were given the world as your budget, what is your dream show to direct?
Whoever's watching this, don't steal my idea. I want to do it. Probably Songs for a New World.
Rebecca likes that work. She's a nice actress.
Oh, we've spoken about this.
We've spoken about it before. Man, it's such a good musical. And there's just so much you can do with it. You can also just get it so wrong if you just don't wait for the right time, and if you don't cast the right people and you don't set up the show in the right way. So yeah, that would be one to do. Oh man, there's so many. I mean, I would love to do Ghost, the musical.
Ooh, yeah.
I think it's such a great musical that, just takes people on this journey, and the music is just gorgeous. There are many. But I think the next one that I'd want to do is probably Songs Renewal, yeah.
Okay, we're putting it out into the universe.
Please, universe.
How many people are in it? What's the cast?
They've done it in many different ways, but initially there's just 4. Is that right, Becca? Yeah, just 4.
Yes. Is it a coincidence that there are 3 of us here?
Is someone else going to pop up and scare me?
4 of us here for it to be a coincidence.
It is a great musical. There's that is a musical that I can listen to the soundtrack every single day probably and not tire of it. What is another musical soundtrack that you can listen to every single day?
Dear Evan Hansen. Just love. Yeah, that's generally what's being played at the moment.
What about Spring Awakening? Don't disappoint me. That is like my ultimate.
I know it's your favorite, Becca. We know. It's not my favorite, but I do love it. I can appreciate it.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Kim, do you have a favorite soundtrack that you can listen to every day?
Do you know what's really sad? And it's going to be so blasphemous that I'm saying this. I have fallen so out of love with musical theatre that it's not even funny. Especially because we teach like pre-teens, so they're like obsessed with Dear Evan Hansen and the Heathers and all of these new musicals, and they're like, "Oh, Kim, have you heard this musical?" And I'm like, "Get that fucking thing away from me! There's no such thing as a new musical." Like, I'm so negative about musical theatre, and I don't understand.
I understand that. I mean, I've been speaking to Kim about this. Like recently, there was a time period during lockdown where absolutely everything musical theatre or anything theatre, I just couldn't deal with it. Like I would roll my eyes at it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to hear it. And I don't know if it's because I was like putting up this wall because I missed it so much that I just didn't want to face any of it, or if I've actually outgrown it, which is a very bizarre thing to say, but it's weird. I don't know.
I think people would be lying if they said that they never have these like love-hate relationships with theatre. I think people would be lying if they were like, "Oh no, I wake up every single day for my whole life and this is what I want 100%. I think that's what we want to believe. But it's a difficult industry and everyone's competing for the same thing, and we teach it, guys. We literally hear it all the time.
Yeah, that's
so when
true.
I'm at home, I don't want to hear it. I've just had people singing it at me for 8 hours. Can I just have a break?
Yeah, that's fair. That's true.
I will say that if I had to direct musicals and things like that, I always want a satire type of piece, like a musical within a musical type situation where it knows it's a musical. I'm always like, Avenue Q in the Book of Mormon and the 25th annual, like those kinds of shows that are sort of shows within shows. Like I'm for that.
Yeah, I think that suits your kind of style.
It is definitely you, Kim.
Do you think that you have a style in terms of what you are drawn to direct?
Yeah, realism.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I mean, here I'm like, oh, I want to do Ghost, but you know what I mean. I just like. I like things where people can leave going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that a musical can be real. And I didn't realize that, oh, those are actually people who are not just dancing and screaming on stage. There is like those, there's characters out there in musicals that could teach us a lot about being better people.
Definitely. And it's actually so interesting, like so many people think that musical theatre is, vomit-inducing, cringe-level singing, dancing, but actually there are some really, really beautiful pieces out there. Like you say, yeah.
And you've already got like that musical undertone, that would be like the back score. It's just like, oh yes, musicals.
Yeah. Okay, so Ba, I want to know, do you have any success stories in terms of your students that you can or are willing to share with us?
Every single one of my students is a success story because they show up every single week and they want to
Oh,
be better. And because it isn't, we keep thinking like, oh no, it's once I've, I don't know, been in a musical. And then afterwards it's like, okay, actually once I've been in a Peter Terrine. And then it's like, actually, no, it's only once I've been in a Fugard, or only actually once I've been on a tour. That's not the definition of being successful. Being successful, in my opinion, is going, I have more to learn,
Mm, yeah.
and going, how can I do it? And then doing it. Can be
Yes,
this big or this big.
and being present. I think being present in what you're doing as well. You know, there's no joy in getting a job in a Peter Terrine musical and then being like, well, what am I going to do after this? How am I gonna be better than what I am now? And you're like, no, because you have to do your job and you have to love your job and you have to live in your job. And then when it's
Yes.
done, go and do something else.
Because, guys, we know that we can get to auditions and we can trick so much. Like, I can go for 5 tap classes with somebody who knows the choreography and they can teach it to me, and I can go to an audition and I can quickly do it and I can woo them and possibly get into chorus. But that's definitely not making it.
yeah.
And I can also be in a musical because I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and it can, yes, and those things do count.
Mm.
But in the end, if you're not growing as a human being and as a performer, then it's not a success story, in my opinion.
I agree, but also there's I mean, when you're studying musical theatre or theatre whatever, you like you say, there is this projection or this idea of what success is. But when you're actually an adult trying to live in the world of adulthood in whatever city you've chosen, like there's so many other things that mark success that don't necessarily have anything to do with your career. I mean, success is being able to pay your rent. It's being able to have a car that you can put petrol in, putting food on the table. So yeah, I definitely do think though that comes with growing up and realizing and putting priorities in order. And yeah, not to say that people who tick all those boxes are not successful, and those
Exactly.
totally.
Exactly. And those things will probably come when you just focus on the individual steps. You know what I mean? The chances of you being successful in an audition when you just go like, hey, damn, I actually do know what I'm doing. I do know how to pick up choreography, and I do know how to look at a song and go, how do I make this work? When someone gives me a monologue the night before an audition and I know how to analyze it in such a calm, truthful way, then the chance of you getting that show are way higher.
Totally.
There's
But
too
also,
many tricks.
yeah, I agree with you. Also, I don't know if it's like airy fairy to believe that obviously everything happens for a reason. And that's kind of like what has calmed me when I go to auditions. I'm like, cool, I'll go do this and see it as a very cool dance class. Do you know what I mean? I'll go and learn some choreo, test my nerves a little bit, test my anxiety, learn a routine, go home. If I don't get a call back, cool. Like it's not part of
Yes.
I don't know,
Journey.
my journey. So yeah, that I think that also definitely comes with putting less pressure on oneself after you've graduated and you're actually physically navigating the world of theatre.
Another thing I was just thinking about when you were talking about this is the idea of like living this adult life, okay? The thing is that sometimes you'll go to college for 4 years, a full-time academy, and you leave, and then those skills are lost so quickly because you don't have the responsibility of showing up to a class, to a teacher who's given you an assignment or a monologue to learn or a dance class or a routine or an assessment or whatever the case is. And this is also something that I think my students are super successful in, is that they are choosing their journey from day one.
Mhm.
They wake up in the morning and they go, I want to be a better performer. Which classes am I booking this week? Mentally, which ones can I actually achieve? which I've got 3 castings this week, so I can only get to 4 dance classes. So I'll book those 4 dance classes, and I'll get to those 4, and I'll give them all. Unlike other people who have to now go to 10 classes during that week, they're not focused in the dance class because they know they've got assessments or they know they've got in the casting, and then they're not actually present. So I'm teaching my students to be the adults that you need to be when you're in the industry, which is continuing your craft, getting into dance classes still, keeping up your voice, keeping up your drama stuff. So you might not necessarily need the teacher, but you've got to wake up, go, I need to do this for myself.
Absolutely.
So at the moment, they've got us holding them accountable because they booked their class. But it's the pattern in which they'll wake up when they don't have to come to us and go, actually, you know what, today I'm going to learn my own song. Today, I'm going to put on a dance routine on the TV and learn it myself, or I'm going to read a play. And that is what's successful in my mind.
I mean, in the same breath, when I started lessons with you, I felt, and it's weird because I had been in a system for so long that was like this, where I felt intense pressure to like show up, but not for myself, for you, because I was concerned what Byron would say. Byron's going to be cross if I don't learn my whatever or do my homework or whatever. And as soon as I made the switch in my head, I'm not doing this for my teacher. I'm doing this to further myself and to further my career. Like, I'm so happy to spend a couple of hours during the week going through a song that you've, mentioned that I should possibly do. So yeah, it's definitely a switch that you've got to make in your own brain in order to achieve those goals.
And luckily, most people who are coming to me aren't people who have already gone through a system. I mean, there are some, but people who come to me from outside of matric go, okay, guys, now you're adults. Now's your time. How much do you want to put into your craft? This is what I'm recommending, and this is what I think you need to do, and this is how much time you need to spend. But a lot of that time is actually you in a room loving yourself. It's you in a room reading that play for yourself, not for me. And it's true, because we end up getting people who have gone like, okay, well, listen, actually I've listened to 6 musicals this week and here are 4 songs. I never did that once in college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I could learn 6 songs in a year, it would have been fantastic, but there was just so much pressure. Now I have people learning a song a week.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your future. What exciting things are happening in your life at the moment?
My personal life.
Yes, if you want to share. You see, I was trying to not be direct. I'm trying to.
I was like, well, I'm getting married.
Yay!
Yay! So a lot of my focus and time is going to wedding planning at the moment. So next year I'll be a married man.
Yay.
And obviously I'm also still really just focusing on the school. That is my life. My life is dedicated to my students.
Do you have a kind of like a game plan to grow bigger? Are you happy with where it's at the moment? Is it manageable?
I think it would be unrealistic at any time to think that we know how the future is going to go, particularly at the moment. My sole purpose and goal right now is to maintain and keep the people who are with me happy and that they're learning. I mean, we're going to be going back to the school in 4th term, and private tutorials are going to start happening from next month. And that's, little goals at a time, one step at a time. So, I mean, in the end, my school is going to grow in the way that it needs to grow for the people who come to that school.
So you've actually just flagged a question in my brain that I meant to ask you way earlier, but I'm just going to ask you now. When you decided you're going to take singing lessons, had you up until that point still been practicing and rehearsing your piano skills that you maybe had left behind while you were studying to be an actor?
I definitely had to practice more and get my brain back into the idea of picking up sheet music like that. But no, I had been continuing practicing my piano. I had also been taking extra lessons.
Had you?
I had, yeah.
Sure. So you were you were doing everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, I mean, when I studied, guys, studying was my full priority. there was definitely a student in the sense of partying and stuff like that, but believe me, I'd be the guy who would leave at 9 o'clock knowing that I had a class the next day because I would feel
Oh,
guilty.
I didn't actually realize that about you when we were studying together. It
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
so effortless.
yeah.
yeah, I think actually that's a great thing about my year is that we were super dedicated. We started off really big, and then when we ended, there were only like 8 or 10 of us left, and we had made a pact that guys, if we're going to be here, we're going to take it seriously. You know, it was easy for one person to not do their homework and then convince the rest to not do it, and we stopped that bullshit pretty much in second year. I mean, we went and we were like, guys, we're paying so much money right now. A lot of us were on student loans. A lot of us couldn't actually afford to be there. So we had made a pact to do the absolute best that we possibly could in that time. So I think actually I was really lucky to have a class that was super motivating and dedicated to the best that we could be at that time.
What nice people to surround yourself with in those
Yeah,
need that when you're studying, because that motivation is just nowhere to be found.
and it can go the other way so easily.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's about creating that balance, because I listened to a TED talk the other day where he was talking about the difference between being lucky and being skilled. And he says if you don't practice and you don't rehearse and you're not intentionally pursuing something, then you leave everything up to luck. And then it's just that, and then it's terrible because as an actor, I think so often you're like, fake it till you make it, wing it when you're in the audition, just, wing it and just smile. Yeah, that's great. But it's not great advice, because actually, do you want to be winging it or be like, I know how to pick up choreography because I practice and because I'm trained and I'm skilled?
Well, this is exactly it.
That's actually, yeah, that's very useful.
And the guy who did the TED talk he's a free solo climber. So if he's not practiced and skilled, if he fucks up, he dead. He falling off the mountain. So
Yeah.
be skilled or leave it up to luck,
Hectic.
And the more skilled you are, the luckier you become, interestingly enough.
This is true.
That's true. Flipping hell. Oh, you've actually just blown my mind right now. That's very, very interesting. Thank you. Sure. Byron, thank you so much for being our guest. We had such a lovely chat with you. Yeah, we wish you everything of the best with your school and just hope that you continue to maintain and grow and flourish as you go along. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. It was nice to see you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.